Everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the CADE Corner. This is officially episode 2 of CADE Corner, but probably like episode 19 or 20 of the podcast in total. As always, my name is Jesper Enker. I'm joined by Victor Lundqvist and Beth York here in my commentary booth. How are you guys doing?
Great.
Good.
We're going to be chatting some more CV Arcade today as, we're getting going. The cups are all, starting to flare up. We're seeing riders with some significant performances, winning, $90 for Quentin Molinez yesterday. We've seen a new patch hit the worlds of CV Arcade, quite a significant one as well, that caused a bit of stir in the community, so we'll touch upon that. But, guys, it feels like so much happens. Like, we sit down on a Wednesday and we go to discuss the week, and it's like, everything has happened, but so much has happened you kind of forget. Like, you can only really remember one day at a time. It's like, you sit down, you're like, what happened Saturday? I remember Saturday being amazing, but what happened?
Well, there's only so much desktop space, right? It's sort of like you have a list
Exactly.
and you've got 10, you have 4 power-ups holding. You don't know what's coming. You can only hold 4 at a time.
I love it though. So this Tuesday, Beth, I had the pleasure of actually sitting down and watching a broadcast for the first time in a long time, where you were on commentary, Victor's producing it, and I just sat there as a viewer and watched it. And it's crazy how entertaining a CV Arcade broadcast is. And this is, well, I was gonna say it's not really blowing my own trumpet, but it is massively. But just sitting there watching a CV Arcade race, Vic, I know we did it on Sunday as well. We rewatched it back. We took some notes. It's insane how immersed you get in this experience.
Yeah, I agree. I think it was definitely a good exercise to watch back a stream that we produced, and you just find yourself wanting to know how everyone is doing, because you have the rider on the left, you see the suffering, and especially the one we watched was Roman Arena was really good. I think it's just you just forget, and then an hour is gone, and it's like, oh, the Omnium is over, and you just want to watch more. So I think it's really a fun exercise to do, and it's very, very entertaining stuff for sure.
Beth, I suggested to Vic that we should do a CADE Corner after every race. Like we should do a podcast after every race or after every day of racing. And Vic went, Jesper, people would get so tired of listening to us if they had to listen to us in the broadcast and then after the broadcast is over. Well, I don't know. I kind of like it.
It would be fun, I think, if you had some of the people in the Mixer chat actually call in, who are part of the chat and maybe make them part of the broadcast, and sort of, because we see them, we try to bring them into the broadcast and they cheer for other racers and stuff, but it would be kind of cool to have them call into the broadcast, are really super active users and hear their impressions, because we're in this little microcosm, right? And we know all these things about racing and we see different things, and then we do zoom out and watch it. And we try to make improvements, like adding the animations you guys did so that people know why they're crashing. So if someone's new to the broadcast, we're helping them along. But it's really interesting to take other point of view and say, oh my God, I didn't even see that. Because 9 times out of 10, someone sees something you didn't see. And the Mixer chat's been so lively. I think that'd be kind of a cool thing.
I can't wait. I'll just have Truth XXX call in going, why, Jasper, are you hating on Velocity? Why you not give Carl Axel Sander 10 bonus points from that? Why you do this yet? I love you, Truth. I love you. I know you listen to these podcasts religiously.
I love it.
But it's guys, I don't determine who, I'm not the sole determiner behind it. I just say what I think is going to happen in the broadcast. And Truth goes, Jesper, you hate Velocity, don't you? I'm like, I literally raced this morning a physical replay Omnium wearing the Velocity kit. I'm like, come on, I don't hate anybody. I just have fun with it. But Beth, I think that's a good idea. I think it's fun because on that remark, the viewers of a CV Arcade broadcast of Mixer, it's insane. Because on a Tuesday afternoon or Tuesday noon here in the UK, earlier in the US, later everywhere else, it's always Wim. It's always Lantrell Storm. It's always DK Mansuni. How do these guys find the time? Because it's amazing to see how loyal and how engaged. These guys are the MVPs. We put all of the racers on a pedestal because they do the physical effort. But what came first, the viewers or the racers? It's kind of like chicken and egg here. So I love it. I really enjoy having them in the broadcast. Speaking of broadcast, Saturday, saw a new winner of the CV Arcade World Cup. I think everyone out there in the community just like, is this too good to be true? Last week Velocity won. Let's just wait and see what happens when the official results come in. And Cognition did end up winning it. Beth, watching it, what did you feel about Saturday's racing?
Well, Seb was on fire, first of all. And, what we talked about last week on the podcast was how significant those captain points can be and how important it is to keep your captain up the road. So in the team play dynamics, I think that, everyone kind of did the math and kind of really took to heart sort of that, oh, wow, looking at the numbers, let's make sure that Seb's up there. And then of course Seb could actually deliver on that, right? Like it was like he was just smoking hot. So I knew way back when Cognition formed that they're going to be super cohesive. They're going to be really cooperative by the way that they set up their team. So I think this is they had a tailwind. They had some injuries. They had, we didn't have a team league. I know it's the World Cup now, but we didn't really race the World Cup. We raced it as solo racing. So a lot of factors are coming together, and that kind of speaks to that, like everything's happening all at once. Like how do I even respond to all this stuff? I want to talk about this. So to see Cognition take that lead spot, to see sort of the teams kind of all up their game. It's making some incredible competition. So I am really enjoying the team play on Saturday. I was in the team car listening with my racers and trying to help out and see things that they don't see and be the calm heart rate. I think that's going to be the next evolution. We saw Timothy last week do in the Derny. He had Glenn next to him. Was that who he had? Like telling him, I think it's just like we talked about this evolution of gameplay, and we're seeing it in the teams. We're seeing it in the Derny. We're seeing it everywhere. And it's like mind blowing where people are taking it.
I'm not sure that was a good thing though. Like the Derny Cup it was a great thing for us. It was a great spectacle. Hearing Glenn go halfway through a corner, 31! And Timothy's like, what you doing? You gotta tell me it earlier. I think that was just fun. The bickering, the team play, I think it can work. But Vic, regardless, like Seb was amazing, right? But it still came down to the end. Like, it talks volume of how the scoring is set up, that like one person can dominate, but the other teams were only about 10, 20 points behind. And it could have changed on ticky turns, Vic.
Definitely could have. I think, it definitely speaks volume to, the riders definitely matters, not just the captain. So I did think like Sebastian, I won't say single-handedly won because that's not true, but he definitely played a big role of winning. But yeah, it's like that's the interesting thing about the World Cup is like you never know when it's over because you kind of get in like a normal race, like okay, the winner wins and then it's almost over. But all these sprints that happen, which we try to get in the broadcast, which are like quite difficult to find because all these points like matter so much. And it's like maybe the sprint for 5th and 6th place is literally what will change the scoring. So yeah, it definitely speaks volume to every single rider matters. Just the captain a tiny bit more, and I think we've seen that. Every week when the captain has done really, really well, that team has won, which was, Cycling Hub and then now Cognition. So it definitely speaks volume to that as well. But yeah, I just think it's so great to see like an individual performance. Now, I don't know how Sebastian managed to do such a thing because like it's so hard to do just like okay in one race, but to just perform like that throughout is just crazy. One interesting thing to touch on would be like if you had like the equalized watts data, I wonder if he produced like significantly more power because looking back, because we watched it back, like I don't actually think he did. I just think he attacked at the right moments. He used like the gradients to his advantage, and I actually don't think he changed his curve that much, which is also a very, very interesting thing.
No, we don't know. Like the team has that data, but neither Vic, Beth, or I see that data. The team, the analysts that go through and check the results, they do see the data, making sure that everything is as it should be within physical equalization. But I agree with you, Vic. We were watching the broadcast. I wasn't left with a sensation of Seb, breaking his PBs by 10, 20%. It felt like Seb was decisive. He made as few mistakes as possible. It was only really CADE peak and maybe a crash on Tiki turns that I can remember. But it's the decisiveness. On Roman Arena, he just went for it. And today, when I did my physical replay Omnium, I was on the receiving end of the Sebastian Kuhn strategy, because he did this on Dark Matter Tech. And when you have the raging bull Sebastian Kuhn on the front, just going like this, I am dead. I will make you dead too. And I'm like, I'm already dead, Seb, leave me alone. Beth, you raced against him in the World Cup before. That way of racing, it gets in your head.
Yeah, he is one racer where, what we saw on Saturday is not outside of what he's done in the past. We saw that in the finals, last season as well. So he does have, I think of him like a silent shark. It's just like dun 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 dun, and it's sort of like you see that shadow, or you see that shadow, like it's just this presence and decisiveness. He's not at all. He's racing his race. He knows what he needs to do. So yeah, he's a force, and like Vic was saying, team cognition, all of those positions matter, and that's what's been really fun, even in the solo cup yesterday, is to sort of watch the scoreboard change within 5 points of, I feel like the Omnium scoring and multipliers have really made for some close racing, combined with all of the racers' sort of skills come up, and the team play dynamics also come up. It's been really it's been a lot happened in the last couple of weeks.
Talk to me about it. I like how in the earlier statement by Vic, he managed to slide it in there like, the 5th and 6th, it really does matter, but it is so difficult to cover because it's Victor clicking the buttons, trying to move around. Like, Vic has the job of like 3 men. He's got or women for that sake, 3 people. He's got to click the replay button. He's got to make sure we've got the finishing line replay. He's got to make sure that we are the camera operator, the observer, clicking the right person. He's got to he doesn't do the camera angles. I get the camera angles in there, but that's like the minor task. Then he's got to make sure the winner interview is set up when we go to a replay. This all happens in like 30-second span, and how you do this while trying to maintain an eye on the racing is rather difficult.
He's got like fish eyes, right? He can actually see behind on the side, like he's actually, yeah.
Let's not talk about fish eyes. Next week's racing, guys. So now the racing is so we heard the community basically. So the racing committee heard the community. You guys wanted racing far in advance. Now the current way of maybe posting it may not be optimal, but the information is out there. So if you want to practice, there are no more any excuses. And maybe this is why we saw upskilled yesterday here in the Solo Cup. But this week's races are available. We have Echelon, Lake Bend, Cypher R Loop, and Dashed Against the Rocks. You can find the full racing looks over on the Facebook page. But Vic, looking at the races available, what do we think of the teams taken to the start line? We've seen Cycling Out win week 1, week 2. We've seen Cognition week 3 now. Who do we think is the favorite going into week 4?
Who is the favorite of week 4? I think we should remind ourselves what those races are, because I think I've lost them in space somewhere.
I'll tell you. I have it handy, sort of handy. The races for Saturday are Echelon, I think you had said, the low skill, 3 laps with wind, Lake Bend, Cypher. Oh, the exactly ones you said, Jesper.
R Loop.
It's almost like I was looking at the graphic.
It's almost like you were 100% correct, but we didn't believe you. I mean, I did.
Oh, that's funny. Well, yeah, of course. I think now that we have the racing like in advance, I think it will be a bit more of a like what teams will do like the best strategy, because now they actually have time to practice. Before you would get it like 24 hours before, and that's kind of too late. So yeah, I honestly think it will just be like the team who can do the most practice, maybe find like a meta gameplay on like Dashed Against the Rocks, which is like the biggest score multiplier, and then just win it by becoming like top 3, top 4, etc. So I think hopefully we will see like more, dynamic gameplay in that sense, and the teams actually practicing the maps. So I think that will be the biggest change. Now that might not happen this week, but I think for sure, like week 5, week 6, when people are aware, like, okay, the races for the week that's coming up next week will come out like the week before. So I definitely think we will have some more exciting racing because of that. So that's my opinion on it.
Don't forget the fatigue as well, because like Sebastian yesterday looked like he was visibly fatigued from Saturday. Like it wasn't the metronome, it wasn't the destroyer, it wasn't the do. It was more like I'm just gonna zigzag backwards instead. So for him to do a repeat performance, he could, but like he's got the advantage that Thursday's his Derny Cup day. He's a keyboard rider. Quentijn absolutely destroyed it yesterday, and if he's not fatigued, I mean, he must be waking up today, the legs cramping up. Casey looked like he was getting fatigued as well. John Pyle is coming up. Peter Castro is back. Maybe Havoc with a late resurgence. I mean, Beth, velocity, I just sit there every single time and I'm like, you were so close. You were so close. There's 1 or 2 crashes away. What's it going to take for your team to actually win the week?
Yeah, it's when you are racing solo and you're like, I need to race clean, I need to not make a mistake. I know what that costs me, but it's magnified in a team situation because one mistake costs everybody. So I think that puts everyone else, puts everyone on a higher level of alert. So I think in any type of competition, the way that you do better is to sort of moderate that pressure that you put on yourself. The better you are at handling the pressure and having coping strategies to say, okay, well, you know what, you have one mistake, and I think Daniel LeBlanc said it, like you have to let it go and move on. But what ends up happening is like one person has a crash and you might reset the button, but it makes someone else on edge because they start to doubt themselves. And it's sort of just like the execution and staying on the line. And they are human mistakes, but I think those are expensive in a team setting. So Velocity, Cognition, Cycling Hub, any of the teams, Hive, it can't come down to one person being perfect. It has to be the team being the most perfect on the day, because the mistakes are expensive. And you spend so much time being like, sorry, man. It's like, no time for apologies. Just fix it. You gotta just.
What everyone should do is they should go look at Rocket League comms. So Rocket League have this thing called the RCS or something, RLCS, where it's the Rocket League Championship Series. They race for a lot of money. They play for a lot of money. And the team communication gets published every week. So when you have the teams racing and playing the game, this is cars playing soccer that can fly. Amazing game, fantastic to watch. But what they do is they publish the team communications, and what they do when you listen to it is they do one-word commands. They never apologize. They never say, my bad for missing a shot. They just go, I got it, or you go, or no boost, or rotate, or goalie. This is like, that needs to happen. Like, I think the community, I think some of the teams are too polite, too, like, friendly, too happy to say words, and like all three of us here are guilty of the exact same thing.
Yeah.
That if you just go, I crashed, and everybody knows, fine, you get back on it, or you go super or power up, time to use it, or something. I think the communication is what people are learning, because if you get down, Beth, to exactly what you're saying, Beth, if Carl crashes and he's your captain, everybody looks around, they go, oh, not again. But if you just go, whatever, go on again, go on the horse, ride, you can get it back, but that is the difficult part. I'm excited for this weekend. The races are going to get tougher. They're going to get more fun to watch. First race not having quantum shift as an ability.
Makes it tough.
Can I just say, like, criminal that it was a one-time scoring multiplier yesterday.
Yeah, that's a good lesson. Makes it a lot tougher. I think yesterday as well, like if we can touch on that, it's like definitely the hardest like physical omnium we've done, especially when Homer Thompson goes and says that. So it's really interesting how, for me at least, just watching it and looking at the riders, like the first race, in my opinion, like defined all the zones, because it was so much harder than it usually is. And that meant that everyone else, they got more fatigued. And we especially saw it in Zone L with Quentijn versus Timothy, where in the last race, I don't think that would have happened if it wasn't for the first one. And basically what happened was that like Quentijn was just attacking, trying to break Timothy, and he finally did. And it just showed like the the sheer like endurance you need for CV Arcade as well. And incredible as well that was Quentin's third Omnium of the day, which is just crazy considering how difficult that one really was. But I also think just because it was that tiny bit harder, I felt that we got a lot more closer racing because we didn't get this like crazy performance because you were so fresh, because everyone was kind of fatigued. They didn't really want to, maybe aggressive racing is the wrong thing, but people were staying together a bit more, and we got some exciting sprint finishes because of that. So thought that was an interesting take.
It was brutal. I did the physical replay Omnium this morning. I got through the first one, and I'm like, I've got 3 more to go.
Yeah, that was the easiest one.
Like, that was the easiest of the 3. But I think it's good because we've gotten so used to racing in a certain way where it's like it used to have this rhythm for the last 2 months. It's like you can kind of mess about on the low skill event. You can just do whatever. You can have fun. Go really hard in the next 3. Now you really have to use your energy smart. If you waste just the tiniest bit of energy, you're gone. Because let's not forget, like Ryan could have won yesterday. Ryan in Zone L probably should have won, but I mean, team velocity lies in the genes. Sorry, Beth, that was an easy one. But Ryan, just so close, he fell down. So, I don't know. I liked it. I think it's good, but I don't know, man. I don't like... What do you feel about the first event, Beth? How that's now changed?
Yeah, so I commented in Zone E, and so I was excited to race it. I raced it in Zone L. So having the experience of commenting on it, seeing how it played out in Zone E, and then racing it myself, I kind of knew the benefit of racing Zone L is you've had those before you to see how they actually do it. And on one hand, I do think like, gosh, it feels like it should be more than one-time multiplier, but also it kind of is a little bit of a head game, right? Because if you don't take it seriously, you're like, I'm totally going to conserve. You might be regretting that by Omnium 3 because you could have picked up more, just a little bit more effort means you could have picked up some more points, but you didn't take it seriously or as seriously because it was a one-time multiplier. So you're constantly sort of like saying, what races am I going to do the best at? How much is it going to cost me physically? But I really liked it because, and I said this to someone after the race, when you race a low skill event and you're in the quantum shift and you're in the draft, and basically the game is just sort of like, kind of drifting and not getting dropped, like once you make that front break. And then it's about timing the sprint. We've seen a couple different variations about how we can use Comeback Kid, and it's been really a great sort of learning that we've been doing, evolving the gameplay. But really, it comes down to nailing the timing. And I've never been able to nail the timing. So maybe I like that I have a little better chance if Quantum Shift is off because I actually have the visual cues of what someone's doing around me. And I don't feel as much of a victim of the draft. So the draft helps you, but it also creates you to be a victim because you floated back and someone did something and you're reacting late. So I've kind of liked the variation of having it Quantum Shift turned off. But it was really fun to see how many different, what do we see? Jennifer and Aaron one time where they timed the comeback here, they made a break. And, so there's been a lot of interesting things happen under both scenarios. But, for my skill level, I like it without Quantum Shift.
I like the progression. I like the progression that the events and the scheduled Omniums are taken because more and more so, everything feels fair. Everything feels like it's happened because of a reason. Now, in the past, the low skill event, despite Casey winning 4 in a row, he'd go, this feels mad, But I feel like it's not only that because, of course, the first event is the one that gets your eye open because it's the Quantum Shift is gone and it went from a 112% draft to a 50-60% draft. And that's a big change.
Less. Yeah.
or less if you're way out the back like me. But anyway, let's not take our eyes off that. Like the second event recently has been more of a more cycling oriented. Now, cycling is something that I want to stray away from saying. It's been more pure CV Arcade. It's the physics, it's the equalization. That is really the event that showcases what CV Arcade is about. Everyone from across the world can ride together, and you do see it. It's a one long line, either one way or the other, depending on where the wind is. And that's so fun. Like, that is honestly so fun. Roman Arena, we saw it. Echelon, we've seen it. We've seen it on Cityscape, New York. Easily my favorite race to broadcast. Easily my favorite race to race. Vic, where do you stand on the second race?
I agree. Now it doesn't have to be the second race, but what Jesper is saying is the uncrashable ability race. And yeah, I think we had Cityscape. I think it was probably last week or 2 weeks ago. I can't really remember now. But especially in the team, like that, just so good because you get like the big group, the big bunch. You get the people trying to attack. But yeah, I think the biggest thing is just people are staying together. And I think that's like the main thing. And I think definitely right now that is the full CV Arcade experience. But I think what we will see is, in I'm not sure how long, but in the future we will see when there's nothing, like no uncrashable ability, that will be the full experience. But I think right now, crashing is just like if you do it, it's going to be so hard to get back. Now you're able to get back, but what we usually see is when it's a high skill, it's people crash and then it's just groups and groups. But with that one, with Uncrashable, they don't crash, which means, the skill gap gets shrinking. I'm genius, right? No, but what I'm trying to say is that, like when everyone is together and you don't know who's going to win, but like before there's like a kilometer to go, that's just so exciting. I think that Cityscape race when Chris won was just really, really cool to see. And that's really the full CV Arcade experience for now, in my opinion.
The full burrito.
Right.
I don't know. You know what's funny, though? Is that right now, everybody's together. But once you get accustomed to it, and this goes on to our discussion from last week on the meta game, like the most effective tactics available, then you'll realize that if you go on the breakaway and you take turns, it's almost like it's cycling and you can get a breakaway, you can take turns, and if two groups, one works better than the other, the one group will stay away. Because right now, everybody's like, I can stay in the pack. This is what people do. But then you're going to see Quentin, you're going to see Casey, you're going to see Nils. They're going to have some sort of weird strategy. Timothy himself, he's going to have his chemicals. He's going to concoct up some sort of strategy, like throw it out there. And then a race, because it's so pure that if you can just gain a tiny bit of an advantage, like 1%, 2% in the strategy department, it completely changes the race. Now, this won't always be the case, that it's going to have an uncrashable race in the Omnium. Some weeks are going to be more physically demanding, like the Solo Cup was this week. Other weeks, it's going to be more skill dependent in terms of like Electric Fidget, Mountain Bike by Jesper, Country Rally. But that's the beauty of the platform that I think is really, really, really fun. Because like, I'll be honest, I went back and I watched some of the other platform streams because they get, like, it's the best way to do is to be humble. I know I'm saying that, it comes from me. Everyone's like, huh, you? What? You go around, you watch the other streams, and you see what's out there, and like nothing compares. Like, it's so weird. It's so weird. Like, Beth, have you had the sensation where you can't really go back? Like, you can't really revert back. Once you've seen this, once you've felt this, once you've raced this, it's like there's no going back.
Yeah, and even what is old is new again for me. Like yesterday in the Solo Cup was a really good example of this. You take Echelon and it's just straight out one corner on each side that has the same exact speed. No surprise. There's no surprise obstacles, but Uncrashable was not on. And, my entire focus on that one was like, just don't change lanes, just don't slide out, just don't change lanes, just don't slide out. And I mean, I had to change some lanes, and I knew that people were going to try to bait me and get on the outside of me and try to make me slide out. But that level of engagement, even on a simple track, is just beyond. You don't have to be on fidget with sprint, slow down, corner, sprint, slow down, corner, sprint, slow down, corner. The dynamics of being in the group and the jeopardy of being in the group, and how that's evolving. I can't, like, there's I mean, it's just so you can't look away. I think at one time I went to, yesterday when I crashed on Submerged, I literally was like saying, I'm going to let one more person pass me. Then I'm going to hit Underdog. Then I'm going to hit Uncrashable. And in the moment that I was like making sure my finger was on 1 and 2, I was like, dunk. Like, you know what I mean? You cannot look away for an instant. And that is what, like, there's no watching Netflix in playing the game, and there's no, watching our broadcast and like cooking dinner. There's not. Like, I sat down and I was like this, and I'm like going, oh my God, I'm at my daughter's basketball game. I'm totally getting busted for like watching this right now. I've got the headphones under my hair, and I'm like, so I'm like, I'm watching
so you
it.
get the inappropriate celebrating, like the other team scores. You go, yes, Viveka. Oh, sorry, yes,
wrong sport.
Or like some like exasperated curse word is like, fudge, and I'm like looking around like no one, like, yeah.
It's fun. Like recently we've done the live streams here on Facebook. We've done 2 now of me getting back into racing, because it's no secret, like cardio wise, I'm unfit. Like, I used to be 4 watts per kilo, which for me was nice. I'm probably down to like 2 watts per kilo now. So there's a long journey back. Having some
It'll
fun
come
running.
back fast on CADE. It'll come back fast on CADE.
Well, you're forced to. Like, there's no...
Yeah.
This is like the blessing and the curse, but there's no going easy. I found myself doing the replay Omnium, and Victor's like, no one's forcing you to go hard, Jesper. I'm like, but there's riders up the road. I've got to catch them. And they're all doing 100%, so I got to do 100%. But I can't do 100% for as long as they can do it, which is physical equalization. So it's really fun. The streams have been a blast. Today, we had Quentin, we had Niels, we had Peter, we had Ben, we had Timothy, we had Glenn, all in the chat watching it. And on Submerged Stadium, I caused Quentin's past avatar to crash, and everyone in the chat laughed. 5 seconds later, I crashed on Casey's avatar. And it's like past, present, future, all taking place in once. It's so fun. I recommend anybody else.
You're bending time in that replay. You're bending time.
Well, did you know you can now affect the racing? So in the past, it used to be a complete replica of the racing. Back then, it was a replay. So whatever had happened will happen regardless of what you do, because the riders will go through you. Now, it's a re-race. Because I just sat in front of John Pyle for all of for Echelon, and John Pyle just went like this. He could not get past me. Yes, I was about to see accelerated. He just kept slamming into the back. And it's fun. Like, the tiniest bit of changing the outcome, suddenly Quentin can't stop hitting a rock. And I don't know why, but it brought so much like joy just watching the best on CV Arcade go, why can't you stop hitting yourself? Why can't you stop hitting yourself? And they just kept crashing. I don't know. I love it. Anyway, guys, we're about 32 minutes in. Any final remarks you want to have on this episode of CADE Corner? It's been refreshing. It's been good. Beth, any final thoughts? Any epiphanies?
I'm really looking forward to the Derny racing tomorrow. I'm enjoying racing it from a keyboard. It's a different experience. I don't even practice a lot from the keyboard because I like to get my braking down. I usually race physically, so I'm practicing physically. So kind of using the keyboard is a different thing, and working with my team, I'm really enjoying that. So I'm looking forward to that. But yeah, and I think the racing on Saturday is going to be really really good. And if last weekend was any indication, I have a feeling we're going to have some pretty heated battles on Saturday, because I think that everyone likes to win and no one likes to lose. So I think it's going to get kind of heated.
Did anyone see Casey blocking yesterday? Just bringing that up. Just bringing that one up there, because I love Casey. Casey's the biggest anti-blocker, but what happened yesterday?
Oh, wait. I'm sorry, I have this pain in my back. Oh, wait, it's a knife. Oh, wait, no, maybe that was the knife in my heart. Casey, you broke my heart. You broke my heart, Casey. I thought we had a gentleman's-ish arrangement where, and I thought we weren't racing teams yesterday. Just saying. Heartbreaking. Lakeview
it went
Circuit.
so well.
We got 34
we're
minutes
32
in.
minutes. We're okay. Never mind. We're almost
No,
done.
no, no, no.
Nice to
Let's
talk.
hear Beth. The floor is yours. Let's hear it.
So I think that blocking is a part of gameplay. I think it's fun. I think it's appropriate. We've talked about circumstances when it's not. In team racing, when Blocket Rocket was blocking a stream of Cognition riders, that was ineffective for his team. But it was clear he was trying to help his team. It was clear. That's what the block was trying to do. So in a solo race situation, if you're not racing for yourself, blocking doesn't make a lot of sense because you're holding yourself back. So the only thing I can conclude was that if I was being blocked, perhaps this person's not working for themselves. They're working for someone else. So anyway, it was a brilliant move because he had put me right in between these rails. So I couldn't go left or right to go around, and it allowed his two teammates to go up the road. But it was a solo cup. So my heart, Casey and I have a long history together. He's my friend. I'm so sad and disappointed. I'm going to just play that card.
I was eagerly anticipating what word was going to come at the end of that one. But I also you can see Vic just wants to do this right now. He just wants to go, I'm not here.
I was going to say, I'm not a part of this. No, it's
Oh my God.
It's fair. It's fine.
No,
it's fun.
Yeah,
my heart
honestly.
broke just a little bit. It
The
did.
funny thing is, I didn't really catch the Lakeview Circuit block on you. I didn't see it at all until we get off the race, and Beth is just running around like house on fire. She is like, "Ah, is this so injustice?" I'm like, "What happened?"
Yeah, well, when your heart rate's like super high and you're chasing something down and you're singular focus, and and that's the thing too, that like we always say, like in racing is sort of like, count to 10, you know what I mean? Like, it always feels different when your heart rate's like at resting zone. But that particular maneuver was like, I was sort of like, huh, all right.
But there are always countermeasures to all this sort of things, and that's why like the best don't get blocked. But it's so funny.
Yeah.
So funny. I like the solo cup. Like I think everybody
So fun.
I think everybody can sense that it's gonna get tense. Like
Yeah.
I fear that there are gonna be friendships broken in the grand finale. Like
I hope not.
Nah, I think we're
Like I
good.
said, I took the knife out of my back, so I'm,
yeah, but if it's out of your back and into the heart, there's no really difference there. It's still like,
look, what is that like? I've been impaled.
but this is what's gonna happen is that you come closer to the racing, and because everyone is getting better and the skill gap is coming up and everybody's fitness is getting better, these decisions are gonna make or break the race. Like the last week or so, it's been one mistake causing people a victory, but that one mistake might be getting on the wrong wheel at the right time or at the wrong time. Like, it's just gonna be funny, guys. Like, I don't think everybody's realizing what we're heading into, because this happens in other games. Like, it gets very, very competitive at the top. You get people of different personalities, of different tempers, and you're racing or you're playing for a big prize purse. If somebody makes a mistake, if somebody, goes out to get you, their tempers flare. And I think, honestly, in the grand finale, we've already seen it. Quentijn kicked a door. Quentijn physically kicked a door. I think it's gonna get fun, but on that.
But it has to be. Like, otherwise, why do it? If it wasn't hard, if it didn't get your blood pumping, if it didn't stimulate you emotionally, why bother? So,
Vic, any last minute bombs you want to throw in here?
How do you follow that?
We got Manhattan in the background here.
God, Jesus, this is taking a turn. No, I think, honestly, I just want to say, like, I think these things just happen in the moment. And I think if something happens in the grand finale and people are angry, I don't think that will last. And I think everyone will be happy racing, the next week or the weeks after. So I think that's fine. I just want to shout out, because we talked a lot about them, but Seb, Quentijn, amazing efforts, just incredible. And and I'm just hoping, I'm a bit sad, Quentijn, if you're listening right now, why did you not do Zone T? Because 4 in a day, that would have been,
epic,
unheard of. But yeah, that's literally all I want to say. I'm hoping for more good efforts, the Derny World Cup solo. And we'll come back in a week and see what's happened. Probably a lot of stuff.
I like how Vic is like, peace, love on earth, everybody. Why can't we all just get along? Come on, it's just a block. It's okay. It's okay, Vic. We're all here. We can let Beth and we can have our own chat. You can have your side of the CADE Corner. Oh,
The nice side, the rounded side.
well, yes. Anyway, everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. If you got this far, make sure to leave a like down below. If you're listening on Spotify, iTunes, give it a review. We do this every Wednesday. We'll be back next Wednesday with our weekly attempt at recalling what happened during the week and just talking for 20 to 40 minutes. Thank you so much for listening or watching. We'll see you guys next week.